Okay, continuing from where we left off. So we've created a circle. We're going to be moving it across the stage. The layer has been changed to linear, and that's just a descriptor of what this animation is going to be doing. I'm going to move it down a little bit from the top because I'm going to be putting text up here eventually. Okay, so when you are ready to move something, and we're only going to be moving the position right now, when you're ready to start animating, you want to make sure to put your time indicator on a frame where you want to have something happen. We want to have something start. So you can place a keyframe anywhere in the timeline, but since we're starting stage left and we're going to move it stage right, for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to do this in a linear fashion from the starting frame to the end. So what we're going to do is have the ball pause for the first half of a second. So we're going to start our animation at frame 12. So again, half a second in. So you can do that by moving your time indicator. Again, it looks like a little blue guitar pick with a vertical blue line pointing straight down. And under position, I'm going to left mouse click on the stopwatch. Now make sure you don't have multiples selected. If you have multiple options selected here, attributes selected, then if you were to click on the stopwatch, it will create multiple keyframes, and we don't want to do that. We only want to animate one thing at a time right now, and that's going to be position. So I'm going to left mouse click on the stopwatch, the left of the position attribute, and what happens is a few things. One, the stopwatch turns blue, a little graph appears in between the stopwatch and the word position. On the left, a little diamond appears, and what looks like two arrows pointing in different directions. On the timeline, underneath the time indicator, a little blue diamond has appeared. That is called a keyframe. It's blue because it's currently selected. When you first create a keyframe, it is by default selected. If you were to click off of it, it will turn gray. This one is still blue because this is indicative of the time indicator being on a frame that actively has a key on it. If I were to move the time indicator off, this would turn empty, and that just means that I am on a frame that does not have a key. So in order for animation to happen, we need at least two keyframes. Now when you first click on the stopwatch and place your first key down, we are telling After Effects to start paying attention to this attribute, and any changes that you make from this point on are going to be recorded, but only changes that are made to an attribute that has any keyframes on it, so only position is being listened to. If I were to change the scale or the rotation or the opacity, this would not be animated. It would be a feature that would remain consistent to whatever change you had just given to it. So only the position is going to be animated right now because it's the only attribute that has a keyframe. And if you're ever unsure, just check the stopwatches next to the attributes and also check on the timeline. Seeing a little keyframe in here is indicative that there is information here, and the fact that this stopwatch is blue means that this is an attribute that After Effects is listening to and that has at least one keyframe. So we want the ball to spend about 1 second going across the stage. So you can do that by going to 112, because we started the animation at 12 frames. If we go to 112, that is 1 second later. So 1 second later, we move our time indicator. And again, if you're ever not entirely sure, because especially if you're zoomed out on your timeline or if your timeline's a little long, that there may be some numbers that are hard to tell exactly where you are, but you can always tell by looking over here on the left side. So I know that I'm at 1 second and 12 frames, 1.5 seconds. So what I'm going to want to do is take this circle and move it all the way to the right side of the stage, or of the composition. And again, there's two ways I could do it. I could take the selection tool and move it over. Now, if I do want to move it over, I just want to move it horizontally. I don't want to move it vertically. So if I want to do that, you're going to want to left mouse down and drag, but hold the shift key down as you do it. If you hold the shift key down, that means it will only move vertically or horizontally. It's only going to be moving horizontally here because I've been dragging it that way. If I moved it down, and I was going far more down than I was, horizontally or up, it will go that way. So I'm just going to drag it over here, and I'm going to let go of the left mouse button. And one thing that you may notice is a line has appeared connecting the first keyframe to the second keyframe, and there should be little tiny dots spaced out evenly between this first key and this last key. You're also going to see thicker circles ignore those for now. They are important, but they're not going to be useful to us at the moment. That would only be important if we wanted to turn the straight line into a curve. So we're not going to do anything with those right now. The little tiny dots are representative of our in-betweens. So there are 24 frames between the first key and the second. And if you were to count each one of these, 1, 2, 3, there's probably a fourth one there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 12 right in the center, 24. And there should be 24 dots there. Again, evenly spaced because that is the default right now. So if we were to watch this, you can move your time indicator somewhere before the animation and then hit the space bar. There should be a pause, it should move, and then it should come to a sudden stop. And that is our first animation. So if we want to have the ball stay still for a little while, let's do it for half of a second before it moves stage left. Then we're going to go to 2 seconds in, 12 frames later, and under the position, we're going to click on this little diamond here. And what that does is it adds a keyframe or removes it if we're on a frame that has a key on it already. In this case, there's no keyframe here, so clicking on it will add a keyframe to the current time. And what that does is it maintains whatever information is already there. So if we had done it in the middle of the animation, it would put a keyframe here. It wouldn't change anything right away, but it would allow us to make changes or move the key around and otherwise make changes from that point. But here, because we placed a new keyframe down and it's the same information, like the object had been stopped, then that just means that these two keys have the exact same information. And because they have the same information, there's no change and therefore no movement. So it's a pause. Now I'm going to move 1 second ahead at 3 frames. And if I wanted to, I could try to move this ball all the way to the left and try to make it end at the same place. But if I do want it to end exactly where it started, an easier way to do that could be to select this first keyframe, hold down Command, and while holding down Command, clicking on the C key on the keyboard, that stands for copy, or you can go to Edit, Copy. And you do not have to have your time indicator here in order to copy this keyframe. You only have to have left mouse clicked on it and make sure it was selected first. You do, however, need your time indicator to be wherever you want to place your new keyframe or your copied keyframe. So to paste it, make sure your time indicator is where you want to paste that frame. Hold down Command and hit the V key. V for paste, I guess. I'm not sure why it's the letter V when the word is paste. And as you can see, the ball jumps back to the beginning because now there's a keyframe there with the ball that's now in the same position as it was 12 frames in, or half a second in. So now if I were to play it from the beginning, I would hit the space bar at the beginning of the animation. Ball zooms to the right, pauses, zooms to the left. And then if I wanted to have it shoot back over stage right, I would go to 312. Click on this little arrow to place another keyframe down. Again, these two now have the same information. I also could have copy-pasted it. And it would be the same solution. But just hitting that little diamond is enough. So now I'm going to go 1 second later. And I'm just going to take this key. And I just know that happens to be the far right position. Really, either of these would work. So I'm going to go and grab one of those keys, copy, so Command C, Command V. So now it goes stage right, stage left, stage right again. And then that's it. So that is our linear interpolation. Now if we want to turn, if we want to make a copy of this animation and move it down, because now we're going to want to make a couple different versions of the same animation, one that has an ease out, an ease in, and then an ease in and out. But same animation, same position of the keyframes. All that's different is the spacing between the, and by spacing I mean where these little in-betweens, how they're spaced out. So we're going to do that by clicking on linear, and I'm going to hold down the command on the keyboard and hit the D key, D for duplicate, and you're going to get a duplicated layer that says linear 2. On the screen it looks about the same because the same layers on top of each other. But I'm going to right mouse click and rename this ease out. And I'm going to hit the arrow for linear to close it. I'm going to drop down the arrow for ease out. Now I can't just grab this layer and move it because it has keyframes on it already. And if I were to move it, as you can see, if I were to click out the, oops, let me click on the little eyeball to the left of linear to make it go away. Now if I were to grab this and move it down, what it does is it creates a new keyframe, which is not what we want. And if I went to a key that had it and I did it, it just changes the keyframe. What I want to do is move all the keys. So in order to move all the keyframes, I have to left mouse down and drag inside of the timeline, which creates a little white box. This is a selection box, and that just turns all of the keys that are being touched by this box into selections. So now all the keyframes are selected at once. Now when they're all selected, we can grab the keyframes and move them down and they'll all move together. Now just be careful, because if you are on a frame that is not a keyframe and you grab the ball and you move it, it might move everything, or what it might do is it might get confused and create a new key and move that ball in isolation. So I am on a keyframe, so I could grab the ball if I wanted to, or I could grab one of the other keyframes, which would be one of these. I'm going to just grab one of the keyframes. Left mouse down and drag, and I'm going to hold down the shift key. And I'm holding down the shift key so that it moves it directly down vertically. If it's slightly off, it might look a little sloppy unnecessarily. Now I'm going to let go, and I'm going to make linear reappear by clicking on the box, the empty box to the far left underneath the little eyeball. That toggles the visibility. Just see how they look distance-wise for each other. Oh, they look okay. So I'm going to take ease out, I'm going to hold down the command key and hit the D key on the keyboard, right mouse click on ease out 2, and it's just called ease out 2 because the layer that was duplicated was called ease out. So I'm going to right mouse click on rename, and I'm going to call it ease in. I'm going to close ease out, I'm going to open ease in. I'm going to click on the little arrow to the left of transform so that I can access all the position keys. And I'm going to hold down command and, sorry, not hold down command. I'm going to left mouse down on the ball, and again I can do this because I'm on a layer that has a keyframe with the ball. Again, if we're on a layer that does not, or if we're on a frame that does not have the ball on the key, like it's somewhere in the middle, then we have to be a little careful because it might get confused and place a keyframe there. So I'm on a frame on the timeline that has a key indicative of the ball's position. And again, you can left mouse down and drag, hold down shift, and it will move down vertically, evenly. There we go. And I'm going to grab ease in and hold down command D, ease in 2. I can also click on ease in 2 and hit the return key to also rename. And I'm just going to call it, I'm going to get rid of the 2 and call it ease in and out. I'm going to hit the enter key. I'm going to close the ease in layer by clicking on the arrow to the left of it, and the arrow goes from pointing down to pointing right. Then I'm going to move to ease in and out, click on the arrow that's pointing at it, and it will point down, shows contents and transform. Again, everything that we've been doing has been under transform. And we have the position. I'm going to left mouse down and drag and grab all the keys, grab the ball, left mouse down and drag, holding down shift on the keyboard. And now if we hit the space bar, if we move our time indicator to the beginning of the timeline and hit the space bar, everything should move at the exact same time. We're going to change that a little bit. We do want the timing of when everything starts, when they reach each key, and when they come back to stay the exact same. But the rate of them all moving together like this is going to change. So I'm going to hit the space bar to stop the animation. Now linear we're not going to do anything to. Linear is exactly what we want it to be. And linear is at the bottom of the layer, and it's listed at the top here. We want linear to be at the top. It's okay that it's set up like this because there are no overlapping layers, so it doesn't really matter what order these layers are in because they're not touching each other. But if it is easier or less confusing to change the order of the layers so that linear at the bottom here is referring to the top, ease out is referring to the one is in the second rather than the third. If you want to change the order, you can grab one of the layers by left mouse down and drag. So I grabbed linear, and I'm holding down the left mouse button and I'm moving it up. And you're going to see a little blue line that goes in between the layers. And that just means that if I were to let go of linear right now, this is where it would be placed. I want to be placed at the top. So I've moved my mouse up so that the blue horizontal line is right above the topmost layer. When I let go, linear pops up above them. Again, on the composition panel, there's no change because none of these elements are overlapping. If they were, the linear would be on top. I'm going to take ease out, left mouse down and drag, and move it so that's right underneath linear. I'm going to take ease in and move it up. So now they're in the same vertical order up here as they are down here, and that just might help to keep it from being confusing. So I'm going to leave linear alone because that's exactly how I want the interpolation to be. Again, interpolation is just how After Effects is registering the in-between. So it's just moving all at the same rate. So linear just means no change in speed. It's just all moving at the same rate. It's rather mechanical, but it suits our purposes right now. Now ease out, we do want to make a change. So ease out is referring to leaving the keyframe. So when you're coming out of a keyframe, I like to also consider this like if you're inside of a car and you're at a red light and the red light has just turned green. You are accelerating from your stopped position. You're not usually going to go from 0 to 60 right away. You're going to start at 0, then 5, then 15, then 25, 35, 40. You're going to increase your speed slowly until you reach your top speed. And then once you hit your top speed, you'll probably maintain that top speed until you reach the next red light. So to do that, we have to go to each key where there is a start of the animation. So here it goes from not moving to moving. So we're going to go over here and I'm going to right mouse click on this key. And when you right mouse click, a little menu will appear just like if you were changing the name of your layer. Same key, the right mouse button. And under here, there should be a keyframe assistant. When you when you move your mouse over it, just hover. I'm not clicking on any keys right now. Another little menu will pop out of it, and you'll have Easy Ease. Easy Ease in, and Easy Ease out. Easy Ease out is easing out of the position. Easy Ease in is easing into the position, and Easy Ease is doing both. So I'm going to click on Easy Ease Out by hovering my mouse over Easy Ease Out and left mouse clicking it. And now that little diamond is going to turn into kind of like a jagged letter C. It's open here and it's pointing in this direction. Now, as you can see, when I move my time indicator or scrub it, left mouse down and dragging your time indicator slowly is called scrubbing. So when you're scrubbing it, you see that the ball gets left behind, the others move ahead, but by the time it reaches the end, they all reach the end at the exact same time. Now, I'm going to go over here where it starts moving again. And I'm going to right mouse click, keyframe assistant, Easy Ease Out. And it looks like there's a ton of keyframes in here, but just keep in mind that the object is moving left and right. So some of these in-betweens are referring to this first set here. Some are referring to the second set. And also some are still referring to this third set. So there's actually a lot of overlapping in-betweens here. So that's why the dots might look a little deceptive right now. So when it starts to move, it gets left behind. They all stop at the same time. When they start moving again, it gets left behind, but they all stop at the same time. And now when it moves stage right, it's still moving all at the same rate because we have not given it an Easy Ease Out. So I'm going to right mouse click, keyframe assistant, Easy Ease Out. And we are done with Easy Ease Out. So I'm going to click on the arrow to the left of the Ease Out so it closes, and I'm going to go to Ease In. Left mouse click on the arrow to the left of Ease In, the one that's pointing to the right. When I click it, it drops down, and Transform should already be open because we were just in it, and I hadn't closed it, because you can close or open it by clicking on the arrows. So ease in is when you're easing into the position. So let's say you're driving your car and you reach a stop sign. You're not usually going to go from 60 to 0. As you hit your brakes, you can go 60, 55, 45, 30, 25. It's going to slow down. And it's going to get slower and slower and slower as the keys or the in-betweens are going to cluster together as you get closer to the key. So as you go slower and slower before you come to a stop. So right here, this is the keyframe that we want to slow down. Now I've been moving my time indicator onto these keys just so I know which ones I'm working with, but you don't actually have to be on the keyframe in order for this to work. So also, it looks like I have ease out selected, which it is, so I'm just going to go to ease in. Or you can just click anywhere that's a little bit empty and it won't select anything, like nothing's selected now. So I'm going to grab this keyframe, and I'm going to right mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease in. Now it looks like it's rushing ahead of the others as it gets to the stopping point. And now when it moves again, I'm going to go over here, right mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease in, and then it comes to stop. And then I'm going to go over here, right mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease in. So now when everything starts, they all start at the same time, but this one starts to rush ahead pretty quickly. And then by the time it's nearing the key, this other key, it's a decent speed ahead of the others. And this one's dragging behind because this was ease out only. But as it reaches the key, it slows down considerably, and they all actually end at the same time. Then, when it shoots out ahead of the others, slows down, moves ahead of the others, slows down. So that's ease in. I'm going to click on the arrow to the left of ease in to close it. Now I'm going to click on the arrow to the left of ease in and out to drop that down. Now we're going to be doing both with this one. So right mouse click on the first keyframe, easy ease out. I'm going to go over here, which is where it's coming to a stop. Right mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease in. Then there's the pause, so there's no easing to do in here. I'm going to go over here, right mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease out. Right mouse click in here, keyframe assistant, easy ease in, ease out, and ease in. Now if you ever make a mistake and you accidentally gave it an ease that you didn't mean to, or it's going the wrong direction, or you ease the wrong way, or if you ever gave it a hold and you didn't mean to, hold down Command and click on it, and you might get a large circle, or like a thicker circle. Hold down Command and click it again, and you'll get a diamond. And that just brings it back to normal. And I'm just ease it back in. So now if I hit the space bar, they should all go in slightly different speeds. They all start at the same time. They all come to a stop at the same time. They all start again at the same time. Stop, start, stop again. All at the same time. So the timing of each one is the same. They all pause for half a second. They all move at the rate of 1 second. But where those in-betweens are spaced is different for each one. Again, top one is linear. Second one is an ease out. Third one is an ease in. And the last one is an ease in and out. And it changes the rate of which they arrive at their destination, or as they start to slow down to their destination. So let's label these. We can label these by grabbing the horizontal type tool. Now I could click inside and it would automatically make a new layer, or I can go to Layer, New, Text Layer, and it will automatically place in the center, and I'm going to call this one Linear. And it automatically opens the character panel, and if you want to make changes to the font and the font family, the text color, size, kerning, spacing, leading, that kind of, all that stuff in there. You can do that, but we're just going to keep it basic for now. So I'm going to take linear, and if you do move it, try to move it, just be careful because it's easy to accidentally grab one of the boxes and scale it in unexpected ways. So you can just grab it right in the center. Or if you're having trouble with it, you can just click on the little arrow to the left of linear, and it just say linear 2, and that's because there is another layer that already says linear. That's why it says linear 2. It doesn't actually say linear 2 up here. And we can go to transform, and if you want to move it, you can move the position. And there's what looks like a little target right underneath. That little target is the anchor point for the type. So what I can do here is Command D and duplicate linear. It does create a new layer called linear 3. I'm not going to worry about it right now because when I rename it, it will change the name of this layer. So that's going to be ease out. So now it says ease out 2. And now I'm going to duplicate. Actually, right now these are what looks like center aligned. I can tell because as I was typing, they get wider as I go instead of coming out from the left side. So I'm going to want to line them up a little bit more nicely than that. So I can do that by clicking on the layer or clicking on the text, and where it says paragraph underneath the character, I'm going to click on that and I can see that it's centered aligned. So I'm going to click on this little set of dashes, and that's the left aligned. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm going to select both. You can actually click multiple layers by left mouse clicking on one, hold down shift and click on the other, or I can left mouse down and drag and just make sure that any layers that I want to grab are in the path. It did not grab any of the circles because even though I was left mouse down and dragging a box over its path, I'm not actually left mouse down and dragging a box over any of the individual circles where they are in the time indicator right now. So they're not selected. And I'm just going to move them over. And I'm holding down the shift key to move them in a more uniform way. There we go. And now I'm going to grab both of them, Command D. Left mouse down and drag while holding the shift key. Okay. And I'm going to go in here and rename this one ease in. And I'm going to go over here to ease out and name it ease in and out. So they're all called those names with the 2 at the end, again, because these layers have the same name. If you want to change the name to, let's say, linear text or linear type or something like that, you can. You can also change the order of these if that's helpful. Again, because none of these overlap, it doesn't really matter what order the layers are in. It's more important that it's easy for you to find and that where they are makes sense. So, however you want to order it. These layers are also red because these red is indicative of a text layer. Blue is indicative of a shaped layer. But you can change the color by clicking on the box to the left of it. So now if you hit the space bar, there we go. And now we have our first exercise. Again, for your first exercise, the object needs to move stage right and stage left at least once. You need a simple object so that we can see that its entire path, the identification of which circle is meant to be doing what, and each one needs to be specific. So the first one needs to be linear, so it's moving at a straight path. No changes in its speed. Ease out only goes slow or starts off slowly when it's coming out of a position. In this case, they're all stopped positions, so coming out of stopped positions, but no change. It just comes to a sudden stop when it comes into a position. So ease out. These are only ease in, so starts off at a normal speed or just a sudden speed, linear, and then it slows to a stop each time that it slows to a stop. And then ease in and out should have both. It should slowly come out of its stop position and then slow into its stop position. Don't forget to save. You can save by going to File, Save, or Save As. If you are saving for the first time, then it will not make a difference. If you are saving for a second time, then Save will save over your previous project, whatever you're working on, and Save As will allow you to save a new version of it. So I'm just going to go to File, Save, and I'm going to call this, I'm just going to go to the desktop for this, and call this Exercise Demo. I'm going to hit Save. And again, you want to make sure that your composition is named exercise 1, just so that it's easy to keep track of for now, because eventually we're going to be combining all of the exercises into one large composition so that the videos all play back to back to back. Okay, so that is creating your first exercise and moving your shape object across the stage.